Now, an historic moment has been reached. Solar Impulse 2 has flown around the entire world, only powered by the sun. The plane made history after landing in Abu Dhabi after its 40,000-kilometer flight. It's shown that long-range aviation without burning fossil fuels is possible. But what does this mean for commercial aviation? Azhar Sukri takes a look.
As it glided into the record books, the pilots and backers of Solar Impulse 2 were promoting the technology that made the feat possible. They say the solar panels, batteries and motors used in the aircraft prove that it will eventually be possible to make commercial flights without burning fossil fuels.
It means that the rest of the world has to take it further, has to use these technologies. We have to stop listening to people who are afraid of changes their way of thinking. Solutions exist, they are profitable.
Fuel is the biggest cost for any airline. Research by consultancy firm Oliver Wyman shows that the aviation industry spends more than 34% of its revenues on fuel. Cutting that expense is one of the main goals for any carrier. Commercial planes are becoming more efficient. According to the US Bureau of Transportation, in 2000, US airlines burned 108 litres of fuel per passenger. Last year, that number fell to 85 litres. But could planes one day be flown only on solar power and batteries, like Solar Impulse 2 is? Right now, that seems unlikely. The problem is that solar cells just don't generate enough energy for their weight to power something as large as a modern plane carrying hundreds of people. But even if it isn't feasible to power up batteries on commercial planes purely from solar energy, they could be charged up from conventional sources, just like modern electric cars are. Airbus last year flew this battery-powered plane, called the E-Fan, all the way across the English Channel. And Airbus has said it is considering starting work on a 19-seat hybrid electric-powered aircraft.
So we're extremely happy to see that the aviation world is picking up on these technologies and included these technologies on the roadmap and the future development.
The Solar Impulse project could point the way to a future that's both greener and cheaper for airlines and travellers. The work on that front is only just getting off the ground. Azhar Sukri, TRT World.
Well, joining us now from London is Jeremy Leggett, the founding director of the UK's largest independent solar electric company, Solar Century. Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us on Money Talks. Now, this project has fired the imagination about what's possible in aviation, but that isn't the main purpose of it, is it?
I think not. I mean, what we in the solar and other renewable energy industries love about this project is what it shows you in a very emblematic way about what solar energy in concert with batteries can do here on the ground, in cities, in nations, and the rest of it. And I think, you know, we're living in a world at the moment where 1,000 of our cities have targets and timetables to go 100% renewable, that's mostly solar and wind, in their electricity provision. More than 60 of the world's biggest companies have similar targets, some as soon as 2020, if you take the case of IKEA. And of course, we mustn't forget that all the world's governments, all the independent nations in the world, pledged last December in Paris to essentially decarbonize the world's energy as soon as they can because of the problem of climate change.
And yet, Jeremy, where you are in the United Kingdom, the government is cutting back on subsidies. I mean, they say they want to be fair to the households that have to pay a little more on their bills to subsidize them. What do you make of that step?
Yeah, well, it sticks out like a sore thumb. The rest of the world is clearly on, for the most part, a very different trajectory. We have problems in the UK in that our government has listened to the oil and gas industry and believes in shale and fracking, even though that industry has clocked up a mountain of debt in America, and more than 80 oil and gas companies have gone bankrupt chasing shale gas and shale oil that they can't extract at economic prices. And nuclear is another problem here in the UK.
And it's cost a lot of jobs, hasn't it, Jeremy, cutting back on the subsidies?
Yeah. 13,000 jobs have gone this year because of government cuts to help with solar. And, you know, some people would say, well, solar shouldn't have subsidies, but, you know, the International Energy Agency has proven that the fossil fuel companies get far more subsidies than we do globally. It's almost 5 times more in subsidies. All energy forms need subsidy until they're economic, and solar will be economic in multiple countries in a few years. Already is in some.
Jeremy Leggett, thank you very much for your analysis. Do appreciate it.